Yeah, so today is our 10th episode. We actually started this Health Huddle project earlier this year. And episode 10. Yeah. So today, hopefully more to come. Today's topic is something that we may have an idea from watching movies. We are going to talk about genetic mutations and superpowers in real life. Once again, thanks for joining us. And like what John said, do leave your comments below to join us in the discussion. Let's talk about some superpowers that you would want in real life. So as you already know, today's topic is actually inspired by the movie series X-Men. All right, thanks for
Thank
letting
you,
us
thank you.
know. So John has been talking for the past few minutes. Okay, just a recap for whoever who uh missed what John said. So we started the session talking about X-Men, and X-Men is basically a series in a universe where there are mutants, and there are mutants who are penalized, and there are also people who want to use the mutants to conquer the world. So um, today we are going to talk about genetic mutation to show you guys how mutants can literally be any one of us, and not just exist in superhero movies. So yeah, John, could you do the honors of explaining mutation again?
Yeah, just now as we speak, mutation is actually things it occurs when sort of we get our genetic information from our parents or from our ancestors. Based on the evolution theory, mutation is one of the reasons why certain species survive, certain species is going extinct because of natural selection. So, in medical terms, mutation also causes diseases among people. So, in the following, we will simply go through, briefly go through some of the mutations. So, first of all, is chromosomal mutation. Chromosomal mutation is either you have part of a chromosome or the whole chromosome, how say, either deleted or or have an extra chromosome in the whole set of chromosomes that we have. Typically, humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes, which total of 46. There might be a situation if you have 47 chromosomes, then that would become a mutation, and that would actually cause the disease.
Mm-hmm.
So chromosomal mutation is like the whole thing. So like in the picture, in this part of the chromosome is being replaced by is either deleted or is being replaced by the thing that wasn't supposed to be there. Besides that, there are also copy number variations, sort of mutation. So this means that we either have extra repeated sequence of a particular sequence, or we lack thereof a particular sequence. So point mutation is basically a single base pair that is different from the original sequence that causes the disease. So take for example, sickle cell anemia, color blindness. These are single base pair point mutations. Which because of these base pair difference, it actually causes different in the protein sequence produced from the DNA, thus changing the biological feature of the cells. So all in all, only a small percentage of genetic mutation would cause genetic disorders, where most part of the mutation we wouldn't actually know. We wouldn't, like what Jane mentioned early on in this session is we might have mutations slightly, but it's not as it's not causing a problem to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not causing a problem to us.
So,
Yeah.
so John, I think to give them a better idea, so for gene mutations, can we also understand them as gene variations?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So, if any of you are familiar with DNA testing, in DNA testing, you can actually find out if you have certain gene variations that would give you a risk in, for example, certain cancers, But then it does not mean that if you have this gene variation, then you're 100% to get that cancer. So these are just all the tiny little mutations or variations that happen in our genes, and it may not even affect you greatly. You may not even notice it, but it's actually happening. Essentially, we are all mutants, as you put it.
Yeah,
So let's talk a bit about the mutation that they showed in like X-Men and other superhero movies.
yeah.
I mean, it's a sci-fi movie, so of course they would usually exaggerate it, and like you get to shapeshift into other creatures, or you are like, I don't know, um, you have fire powers, things
Hmm.
like that. So if you could pick to have a certain gene mutation that can give you a certain type of superpower, what would you want, John?
I think there's a lot of I would say mutation that I would want. But of course,
Just
first,
one.
if you put in terms of rankings, then I would go for superhuman healing,
Or like
like the
fast
one in
healing, like
fast
Deadpool.
healing. Yeah, like Deadpool, like Wolverine.
Oh yeah, that's
They
very good.
have this. They call it X Factor.
Mm.
Yeah, X Factor, X healings or something like that. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's like if I get hurt or if I got any injuries or whatsoever, I can sort of heal myself almost instantaneously, and it's
Mm.
it's in the story it also slows down the aging process.
That's actually, I think if that's actually something that can be like achieved through genetic engineering, it
Yeah.
would really be very a huge turning point for the medical field. Like, oh,
Yep. To come back to your point in the X-Men story, that there is, I think there is an instance where, I think a group of scientists was extracting the gene that carries this super healing power, and actually, I think make mutants out of it.
mm,
There are
yeah,
such a thing. Yeah.
because hopefully this kind of thing don't happen, in the future. So
Yep.
okay, if you guys have any superpowers that you hope to be able to achieve through genetic mutation, do leave us a comment so we can have a discussion on that before we go into telling you some real life examples of superpowers. So for myself personally, if you ask me
Mhm.
what kind of superpower or mutation I wish to have, so I actually recently found out that the Korean population have a gene variation that causes them to not sweat as much as normal people.
Mhm.
And that even if they sweat, it doesn't usually smell, and which is why they don't really sell deodorant in Korea. And I just think that it's so cool, and I would really need that gene, especially in Malaysia. It's so hot. And as a girl, when you sweat a
Mhm.
lot, your makeup will run, and you smell
No wonder
bad.
they do a lot of
Yeah,
makeups there. Huh?
yeah. So it's like, oh, if I get to choose, I want to have that gene variation in my gene.
Is it not because of their eating habits or they eating a lot of kimchi? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's something that happened over many many years that led
Mm.
to that. I don't know. Probably something that we have to read more on in the future.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, I mean for all the listeners out there who's following our show, what do you think in actual real life the superpowers, or you do share if anyone around you exhibits sort of superpowers per se? Do share with us.
Mm.
I from my point of view, there are people that has I would also say superpowers, but it comes in the form what we call talents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Talents.
certain people are more born to have a certain aptitude, or certain talent towards, I think first of all, like music or sports.
Yeah, like pitch perfect.
Yeah, pitch perfect. People who are innately born, in terms of like muscle structure, bone structure. Another one is the ability to run further. Some of it is actually genetically inherited. It's actually in the genes. Or people who can swim further. That's why sometimes, if you see in the global, like for example NBA, I watch NBA. Most of the NBA athletes are more African descent. So to per se, I mean, I'm not being discriminating or whatnot, but they are to say that African genes are generally, better in sports because they have better body builds, or sort of thing. Of course, they do put in the hard work, but I believe there are certain advantage over there.
I guess in some way, because when you have a talent, um you don't necessarily portray yourself as like a superpower, because it's just something that you happen to do very well.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, all these superheroes, when they have so-called superpowers, it's actually just something that they also do very well. So we can also be superheroes if we know how to use our talents properly.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I know I've read an article that there's a woman who can smell. She somehow has the ability to like sniff out when people have Parkinson
Hmm.
or Alzheimer's. I'm not sure, but like she seemed to have this ability. So maybe we would just call it a talent, but don't you think it's actually quite like a superpower if you can actually detect all the people who have this disease early on, and they can get treatment early. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, some of the superpowers. I mean, we I don't want to be skeptical. Some of the superpowers, of course, is outside of our imagination. There are things that beyond our imagination. So like
Yeah.
people who sort of can communicate with animals.
Mm-hmm.
There are a show what they call like a dog whisperer sort of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
People who train dogs, they can communicate. I think in some sense, if it's a talent or it's a superpowers, it's very hard for us to draw the line. But it's something that
Mm-hmm.
not everyone can do, not a normal people can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, let's just also bear in mind that movies are movies. So okay, let's talk about some realistic superpowers
Yep.
that we have found to really exist in real life. So the
Yep.
first is this man called Daniel Browning Smith. His nickname is called the Rubber Boy, and he holds 7 Guinness World Records for being the most flexible man in the world. And it's actually a result of a genetic mutation that causes him to have the hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Mhm.
Basically, with this syndrome, he has looser joints, which allows him to really fold his body into like really unimaginable positions. So, in some sense, if you put his situation into a superhero movie or even like an anime, he does have that, like the hero qualities.
Mhm.
Even like One Piece Luffy is like very flexible. So I guess this is a very
Mhm.
interesting ability that I didn't really expect to exist in real life. What do you think
Yep.
about it, John?
Yeah, when you talk about the rubber boy, I mean, first thing, of course, it came to my mind is the anime called One Piece. When you talk about, it's also there's another similar concept in Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. And it also reminds me there's an anime also focusing on mutant, which is the My Hero Academy.
Who ah? I
My Hero
yeah, I
Academy,
remember
yeah.
there's somebody like that as well.
So there's a lot of course, stories about mutants, but I think like you said, like in a lot of times, we might see this in movie, but in actual, there are people who has this properties, but not as exaggerated as in the movies. But if you go check him out in YouTube, is sometimes the degree of the extension that he can do is sometimes quite scary for normal people to do, but it's quite interesting. It's
Yeah.
definitely very
Yeah.
interesting.
I think of course movies and animes, they kind of exaggerate the degree of all these superpowers, but then for this man, maybe you would feel like, whoa, it's so cool, he has this ability, but the reality of him having this syndrome is that it also comes with a lot of health struggles that we may not know, and he face on a daily basis. Just something for you guys to keep in mind,
That's
when
right.
we look
That's
at
right.
these people. So let's look at the next case. So this is 𝗫-𝗫𝗶𝗹, I think that's how you read it. So he's a British architectural artist, and I think he's actually quite well known for having a really good memory. He has this thing called the Seven Syndrome. I think that's how you read it.
Mhm.
So he actually became really famous because he actually went on a helicopter flight around New York City once, and then when he came down, he could draw the entire landscape of the city out by memory. So this actually it's a very rare case, um, and apparently there's only less than several hundred people who have this syndrome in the world. But this syndrome actually more commonly occurs among people who have autism, or people who have learning disabilities or any other similar syndromes. So I think for normal people, when you say this person is autistic, you may have a not so good impression of them. But it is also these people who are so gifted and talented that they can do things like this. And having such good memory, I think it's a very good superpower. You would ace all your exams.
Well, I mean, having a good memory doesn't mean having a good analytical skills, though. I mean,
That's
some
true.
if you need to think,
That's true.
uh,
Mm.
and able. I mean, every one of us would be envious of ability to memorize, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think ignorance is bliss as well. The ability to forget something is also a gift. I think most of us are gifted in that sense, where these people are more gifted in the memory part. Imagine the amount of information stored in a lifetime.
Yeah,
Imagine you
yeah,
live up to 50, 60 years old. If you can't forget a single thing, wow,
yeah,
that's is also a lot of things to go through.
yeah. I think you need to have a really big brain to really remember all that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but I guess this Stephen's case, not only he has the good memory, but he also has the artistic ability to really, you know, draw everything out.
Yeah,
So I think that's a overlooked part that
that's right.
people forget. They only focus on his good memory, but they forget that he's also a very good artist. Yeah, I think that's also just a really cool thing to have.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the next one? Okay, so this is another good case of good memory. So this is 𝗫𝗏𝗫𝗏. She's an actress, and she has a very rare case of having a highly superior autobiographical memory, which in simpler terms we would call like photographic memory, I guess. It's actually a result. She has this condition called hyperthymergia, where basically she has so good memory that she can remember her everyday down to the single detail. Like if you tell her like, oh, what happened at 9 a.m. on 10th April 2019, and she can probably tell you, oh, I was wearing a blue blouse, I was walking down so and so street, it was raining, for example. Her memory is so good that she's basically like a walking, I don't know what can
Walking
you
recorder. I
rocking
don't know.
recorder, I guess, or like a walking. I don't know. I can't really describe her with anything because it's just so unimaginable.
This reminds me of Sherlock Holmes also. I mean, in Sherlock
Oh
Holmes,
yeah,
He's also having a photographic memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't
Sometimes,
even remember my lunch. And these people can, they can remember all these things, and I
yeah, that's
just
why we
think
are
it's
gifted with the memory. I mean, the ability to
to
forget.
forget, yes.
Yeah, we are talented in forgetting
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Mm.
So like I guess for her perks is that, as an actress it would be very easy for her to memorize her lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the downside would also, of course, there's a lot of things that she can remember, and I'm sure there's things that she would wish to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm also curious, like how they pinpoint the time. Do they carry a clock every time,
Yeah.
or is it how they remember the time?
Maybe they just came to glance at the clock somehow and it just got recorded in their brain. I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe.
I think this is a very cool ability to have.
And another thing is whether or not they remember since the day they are born.
Oh,
That's interesting, right?
that would be a cool thing.
Mm.
Because I think the common belief is that, you don't really remember the first few months of your lifetime because everything is a blur. But
Yeah.
it would be really cool if she even remembers from the moment she was born. Or
Or
like
even way before that,
in
when
the womb.
she's in the womb. Wow.
Wow, that would
Because
be
the brain is developed there and then
yeah,
already.
yeah. I think that would be really something very interesting to hear about, like if somebody actually has this ability.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
It's
let's
quite
talk
cool.
about the next
Yeah.
one. Okay, so this is a lady called 𝗫𝗲𝗹. She is an artist and she has what they call a tetrachromatic vision. So to put it simply, she can see 100 times more colors than a normal person. And this happens because so in our retinas we have three receptors. They call it three cells, and for her, yeah, so for her she has four receptors, and that fourth receptor enabled her to have a special uh ability to just see more colors in the world. And this is of course also a result of her mutation. And I just think that this is also quite a interesting uh gift to have. um I'm really curious, like what is the world she sees, you
Yeah.
know
Alternatively, you would be curious also for people who are colorblind. What do they see in this
mm,
world?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I I guess you wouldn't really call this a superpower, but because we can't really understand what is the world that she's seeing. So what if um with the extra colors that she can see, when she see people, she can actually identify if this person has a certain health condition, just from the colors on the body or the skin. Wouldn't that be really cool?
Yeah, I think when I read up for her, I think besides having the color, she also has a very good vision, if
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, yeah,
She can see quite far as well.
yeah. Like it's more than just 2020. It's like
Ah,
even better than that. Yeah,
yeah, that's I mean she's gifted with the vision ability
yeah,
to sort of see things differently
yeah.
from other people.
Okay, so this last one, just fun fact, this man is actually from Malaysia. His name is 𝗫𝗫𝗹, and he's known as the Magnet Man. So as you can see in the picture, he has the ability to really kind of magnet things to himself. And they actually done a study on him, and no, he does not have a magnetic field in his body, and neither does he have like telekinesis power or anything like that. Apparently, his body just have very high levels of friction. And this is apparently inherited because his grandchild also has the same ability to, kind of stick things to his body. Um, would you call this a superpower, John? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's not of much use in real life, but it's definitely something not normal people would do. How
Yeah,
many things did you want to stick onto you in actual life
yeah.
other than your clothes?
I'm just thinking like it would be so convenient for him to go out because he don't really need to carry things. He can just, you know, stick his phone here, stick his keys here, you know, then he can just walk out.
I will say otherwise. I will say like, oh, what if he wears clothes? You know, the clothes doesn't come off
Oh
easily.
yeah,
It doesn't go in easily. You know,
yeah,
that
that's
sort of
true.
is also quite frustrating as well. If
That's
it's
true.
the clothes keep sticking, you know.
Yeah, I think it's good that he's also like from Malaysia and not from somewhere with 4 seasons, because like in winter apparently there's like even more friction and stuff. So I guess
Uh-huh.
this is good. But yeah, you know, when people say like the Magnet Man, the first thing I would think of would be something like, I don't know, Magneto,
Yep.
you know. But then, you know, the Magnet Man in real life is just an old man, you know, who
I
happens
mean,
to,
obviously he cannot control
yeah,
metals.
yeah, yeah. But you know, just the ability to stick things, you know, to himself is, I think, already pretty cool.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Of course, I don't think it's a power that I want to have. But you know, it's just something pretty cool, you know, that, you know, it's something that happened because of your genes.
Yeah, I think we can also look into some of the probable superpowers that a lot of people tend to go by every day, and then you know, we do come across people who are I mean, in movies they call it telekinesis, you know,
Mm,
ability to read minds. I mean, around us, I believe we do have friends or people who know we know that are more, I would say, conscious on a person's emotion.
yeah, yeah.
You know, like a heightened sense of empathy. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are things that I think. I mean, for me, I would say it's also a superpower because as long as there are things that not normal people is able to do, you know, majority or even, you know, great part of the people is not able to do in a very consistent manner, is already a superpower. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah.
all of us might have that in us, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think oh, but Ray John, can you just go to the next photo?
Uh,
We don't have to keep staring him.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So yeah, but like, you know, like what you said, some people have the ability to be able to read other people's emotions really quick. Some, I know, they are able to read so fast, like they can just read an entire page in 2 seconds. So, you know,
Yeah.
maybe
And also
it's
there are
not.
people who can learn language very easily
Yeah.
and
And I
can
think,
calculate very fast, you know,
yeah,
things like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I think these are, you know, you wouldn't think that is something that you can use as a superhero to save the world or anything. But then, you know, realistically, in life, we don't really need so many superheroes. There isn't
Mm,
aliens attacking us.
yeah.
So I guess all these exceptional abilities are enough for us to call them as superpowers. And yeah, and it can happen to any of us, our future children,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think most importantly is use whatever ability we have to help other people. It's not necessarily it must be an alien invasion or whatever.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, we
yeah,
all fight our own wars day to day. You know, it's
yeah.
also good to help you know, other people's battle if we
Mm-hmm.
could. And another point is, you know, like the, you know, a story in X-Men, they are being discriminated because they are different from normal
Mm-hmm.
people. I think in certain mutations, the external feature can be very different from what we perceive normal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important for us to stay educated. There are certain conditions that is people being born with. We try to be, you know, accepting of whatever that person is.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of stories, you know, in the social media that explains the Tourette syndrome, the one that has tick, you know, those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. And these children especially are very susceptible to bullying in school. Growing up is very tough for them. So I think for us, you know, playing you know, for us to be a superhero is also to protect these people that are vulnerable in
Mm-hmm.
the society.
Yeah. I think actually the core message that, you know, we kind of want to tell through today's discussion is that a mutation is a very human thing to happen because mutation happen in all of us, in our genes. You know, whether you know it or not, it's happening. So when somebody has a more obvious mutation, for example, having Edwards syndrome or having Down syndrome, it doesn't mean, even though they are a little different, it doesn't mean they are not human. It doesn't mean they're alien, and it's just a very human occurrence. And so, we should, try to learn to be more accepting and understanding of their situation, and to also, of course, educate our young ones to, you know, understand, uh, what is happening instead of allowing them to judge them based on what they see. Yeah,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, um, we are all only humans, and
Yeah.
this is just something very normal that happens in our body. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also for families, parents that has a child who is special, I mean, we do give our support to them. We hope that everything goes fine with them. So it's not that easy to bring up a child that has these kind of conditions, especially like Down syndrome. It's not easy, but there are a lot of helps around. So hopefully, you are well, also well supported. I think that's also very important.
Yeah. So we are nearing 8:40
Yep.
p.m. So thank you whoever who is still with us for today's session. We have talked about X-Men and genetic mutations and real life superpowers. So if you have anything that you want to add or ask, please feel free to comment below.
Yep.
Um, so I think we are gonna start wrapping up when we wait for comments to come in. So John,
Yep.
so I guess um we are kind of accepting of the fact that we cannot be X-Men, but we can be superheroes to people around us. So
Yep.
what do you think is a quality of yours that you can consider as your own personal superpower at the moment?
Wow, that's huge. I mean, for
Even a
me,
small power is fine.
I mean, for my own part, if you say my own superpowers that I perceive myself is probably uh, ability to sort of learn new things, or
Mm,
to understand new things. For me, how do I help people around me is also, I think, sharing what I know with them. Probably with that they would elevate themselves as well. I wouldn't say I know a lot, but we can learn together. So yeah, I do have the ability to see color differently because I'm also a color blind. So the world is very different from my eyes sometimes.
but it's still beautiful.
Yeah, it's still beautiful.
Okay. I think for me, superpower, for me, it's probably languages.
Hmm.
I do tend to be able to pick up languages faster than my peers. Um, but of course, being able to pick it up doesn't mean you're able to teach it.
Hmm.
So, I just try my best to explain things of a different language to people around me as much as I can. I guess that's just my little way to use my superpower, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, I think.
Okay, so I think there's no comments coming from the
Yeah.
audience today. So okay, to wrap it up, so thank you guys for joining us for the 10th episode of Health Huddle. It's been about 3 months, a little more than 3 months since we
Yeah.
started this project, and I think we've talked about a lot of very interesting topics.
Hmm.
From the vaccine to other genetic representation in movies. Today we're talking about mutations. So we'll be back next week with another interesting discussion. And if
Yeah.
you have any topics that you wanted to talk about, please feel free to submit your suggestions to the link that you can see at the bottom of the screen here. Okay, and yeah, thanks John for joining
Yep.
us for
Oh,
today's.
one last thing.
Mhm.
So everything that we share in the Health Huddle is all from our personal opinion. It doesn't represent any parties, it's all from us. And we do
Yeah.
not claim credit on any contents shared, especially the pictures that we got. The contents, the copyright goes to the owner.
Yeah.
We are just sharing based on what we know. There might be limitations of what we know. We might be wrong. Some facts do correct us. You do send us. So that's it.
Yeah. So thanks
Cool.
for joining us,
Thank you. Good
and
evening. Good
hope
night.
you guys had a great evening, and good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.
We are all very worried about immune systems not being strong enough. We should be even more careful with what we eat, because it will definitely affect our immunity as well. So do eat enough,